Hi folks, you're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this radio live stream. In this essay, I'd like to talk about a recent court case, and it's been well publicised in the media in certain parts of the country. It's been front page news for over a year, I think, and all the others that have media stories that have sort of gone in support of it. I guess I won't mention the jurisdiction, but suffice to say, it's in a region where a very leftist, very ideological government is in control, and the media there is again very, very leftist. Now there's an allegation, a very vague one, put forward by a woman that she was, I think the charge was, under the umbrella of rape generally, but the charge was sex without, sexual intercourse without full consent or something like that. It was a sort of, if you were looking in manslaughter terms, which this wasn't, by the way, but if you're looking in that, you'd say, third degree manslaughter or something like that. It was a very cut down version, as I understand it. So the allegation was that it was not fully consensual sex. So and just to give you sort of indication, the two people, they're the man and the woman, young man, young woman. They're at a party. It's all very intimate. They decide to go into some of the nearest room they can get into and have, start smooching and, the heavy petting and the whole business. And then they, it moves to getting horizontal and so on. So, but then the next day, or in the ensuing days, the young woman says, well, actually, I had too much to drink. I don't know if sex did take place, but if it did, then I didn't give proper consent. Therefore, it technically qualifies as rape, or this, sex without full consent thing. So I'm a poor put upon victim here, and the guy's a damn straight white male with his white privilege and so on. So that really makes me a victim now. So anyway, it was ideologically, it was something that the leftist institutions of the world, that the globalists are using to destabilize Western society. These leftist institutions went into hyperdrive. Hyperdrive, in fact, doesn't even begin to describe it. So there was this avalanche of stories that this particular institution was a hotbed of fascism and Nazism and racism and oppression of women, misogyny, Hitler, and which is, of course, quite ridiculous. But anyway, those were the stories, and ideological take. Every lesbian in the universe came out with a story of how oppressive this place was. And how do we know it's oppressive, by the way? The evidence is that there are no black lesbians in charge. That the only way we know that it's not oppressive is if black lesbians in charge. And now if black lesbians are not in charge, then we know that Hitler is in charge. I mean, it's one or the other, and that's it. That's how it is. And again, there was not a single politician. I don't think I saw a single media article at all over this time that pushed back even slightly against this, or even asked the sensible basic questions about it. So the local the case that the young woman had was about as flimsy as a case can get. It was he said, she said, with not a single piece of physical evidence that would support her claim. But there was decided on political grounds alone, ideological and political grounds alone, that they had to do something for women. They had to stop these damn fucking Nazis, fucking misogynists, fucking Hitler, Nazis, fascists everywhere, and they have to fight back against the Nazis. And this is what they had to do. So it was decided that the government would take up the case, and which meant that, of course, the young woman got free legal representation. Now, on top of that, the feminist groups, all fronted by lesbians, by the way, the feminist groups then came charging in and met all this, as I understand it, all this young woman's expenses. She was living somewhere else at the time, so all the accommodation, the food, the travel, everything was paid for. And also, as I understand it, she was effectively paid a salary so she's been given an income during the course of all the legal proceedings. Now, the young man wasn't. He had to meet all his expenses and was without an income because his name was plastered all over the world media as being, in effect, a rapist. When, by the way, there was no proof that he had. There was no court of law that come out with a guilty verdict. So this presumption of innocence that was casually disregarded, and the comments from the body politic, comments from the media, and comments from all sides, the inference was that he actually was guilty. And if he wasn't actually guilty of doing it, he was guilty anyway, kind of ideologically. I mean, he was a straight white male. What more fucking guilt do you need? I mean, that's enough in itself. Take the guy at the fucking back and fucking shoot him. Jesus Christ. You want to worry about facts and evidence and court cases? Bullshit. Just take him out back and finish it. So the presumption of innocence was just disregarded. The guy was treated as a criminal. I mean, it was outrageous on every level. Whereas the girl, the young woman, was treated as a victim. Now, no matter how flimsy a story was, no matter how flimsy the evidence was, no matter how shaky the case was, she was still treated as a victim. And most of the media companies would report that. Would start with the reporting about it. Victims all over the world oppressed by evil men, and we're just fighting back for the victims here. The victims of horrendous crimes. Quick cut to Africa. 1 million women are raped every day in Africa. Oh no, really? It's hysterical. We've got to do something. Get that guy, grab him, tear him limb from limb. I mean, he's got to be guilty because of the African situation. No, absolutely absurd reporting that was, transcended even the hysterical levels of hysterical. And I was watching these things with partial disbelief. But anyway, the body politic in this region decided they had to progress, go to trial with a case, even though they knew it was flimsy. They knew they had no physical evidence. All they had was her allegations. They had that there. Now, on top of that, the depositions and evidence she'd given was proved on so many occasions to be untrue. And the more she was exposed under cross-examination to have found that to have been, let's say being extremely economical with the facts and the truth. As much as it was found with that. The entire establishment, the legal, the Department of Prosecutions, the media, the entire establishment was in absolute support of her and support of her narrative, and it was a narrative, in my opinion, and I think no substantive evidence was, and even at one stage in the court proceedings, as it was pretty, I believe, in my opinion, it was proved that she was a liar and had misrepresented the situation. To protect her snot-nosed, gender studies dignity, that she called out across the courtroom, "I know what you did to me," trying to highlight her victimhood, and this wasn't pulled up. I mean, to me, that would have been, "You are in contempt of court, young lady," and that should have been the response there, but no. So the prosecutions, the media. I would suggest the court hearing was probably more sympathetic to ideologically sympathetic to her. Now, if you look at this particular branch of government here, it's stacked full of leftists and leftist activists and leftist sympathisers. People that are constantly saying we've got a real problem with racism, misogyny. Misogyny has to be stamped out. It's everywhere. And so it creates it creates, if you like, a natural momentum for these things where people believe their own bullshit and they believe their own insane ideological utterances, and then they believe that they have to actually do something, and they have to show that they're doing something. It's symbolic or it doesn't matter, but they have to have, a head on a spike, and they have to be able to wave it around in front of the mob to show, look, we're doing something about it here. And this is sort of, you think in a democratic rule of law, due legal process society, this sort of thing wouldn't happen. Saner heads would prevail, but we don't live in such times anymore to the extent that we ever did. Now we live in a situation where ideology and fantasy rule supreme across politics, courtrooms, due legal process, evidence, and the whenever the woman's case would look weak, they just, well, facts don't matter. He's a damn fucking misogynist, fucking Nazi. So these sorts of attitudes prevailed throughout. Now, I thought the very flimsy the way my take on it is the way that things were going in the court case was that the young woman was going to lose. She just committed, in my opinion, too many perjured statements, just too many lies, too many untruths, too many memory lapses at critical junctures, and so on. And so the case was going to be decided against her. Now, I think politically, and again, the Department of Prosecutions, this area shot through with activists. They decided that they'd rather nobble the case itself rather than have to admit that they spent a shitload of money bringing a very flimsy case for political and ideological reasons to pursue an innocent man, just again for ideological reasons. So they engineered this discovery, this strange discovery that someone had done. One of the court officials, made this incredible discovery that there'd been some inappropriate behaviour somewhere, and so they could then say the case was being declared a mistrial, so they could just end it. But they would have another trial. No, I don't think they ever intended to have another trial. They knew their case was weak, and they were even looking at creating special. Can you believe this? Just over one fucking court case, special legislation in the Parliament to make sure that people that claimed they were raped, they're not victims yet because it hasn't been decided by the facts in a court of law. Tested facts in a court. It hasn't been decided. But someone just claiming they've been raped, they can also then they cover themselves in this cloak of victimhood, which means they can say, oh, I can't be cross-examined because it's too stressful. Well, that's all right. That's okay. You just say that he did it and that's good enough. We'll accept that as fact and send the motherfucker to prison. There we go. Hey, justice done. So they're going to have special legislation to protect people that claim they were raped. Oh, fuck. This is the state we've got to in the Western world, where ideology overrides everything. So anyway, they were going to have another hearing. They're going to have another court case, and but the fucking moron department. The Department of Public Prosecution shot through with ideological fanatics. Then issues this bullshit statement that because of the stress on the poor victim, that they're not going to proceed with another hearing because it's too stressful for her. Fuck. And nothing like a determination to see justice being done. But then they still want to have the last word. They still want to have the last word in this case. So instead of saying that Mr. Smith is presumed innocent, and is the way it works, he's innocent until declared guilty in a court of law. For tested evidence that given he has not been found guilty, he is therefore innocent. But instead of just letting that go through, as in due legal process and the rule of law is meant to, instead of that, the head of the prosecutions department then makes it abundantly clear with an unnecessary statement, very ideological and political statement, that doesn't mean the guy's innocent. And we think if the case had gone ahead, we'd have been on a good chance of getting a conviction against that damn straight white man, fucking Nazi Hitler motherfucker. which is, of course, is utterly. What an outrageous subversion, in my opinion, of due legal process and the rule of law. By its leading, it's the officer, the most senior officer in that jurisdiction, where he is sworn an oath to uphold the due legal process and the rule of law. In fact, he fucking subverts it and does so under obviously an ideological sort of shroud there, where he's fighting back against misogyny, Hitler. In fact, he's doing nothing of the sort. What he has done, in my opinion, is perform an act that is infinitely more evil than anything that this guy was accused of doing. You've been with Tacitus today, your Pushback channel, and thank you for listening.